Joining us now, Walter Jones, Congressman. Yes, Congressman from the 3rd District of North Carolina, off of his big primary win where he vanquished challengers, and he will go on to get reelected to another term and serve another 2 years through the midterms and up to 2020, where we're going to beg him to run again. And it's good to have you with us, Congressman Walter Jones.
Well, John, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, because it's like a merry-go-round, and I don't know what's coming up next. So thank you for giving me this chance to talk to you.
You never know what's coming up. Let's get to the Israeli situation, Hamas, Jerusalem. The Israeli Defense Organization there, the army on the border, on the wall, killing 100 Palestinians. Palestinians saying, look, these are innocent people that got gunned down by the Israelis. The embassy moved. They just wanted to protest. But then other people saying, no, they were shooting slingshots and rocks, and they wanted to kill Israeli soldiers, and they were flying kites, fire kites over their heads, trying to firebomb them. But look, 100 people dead. Not a good situation. Where do we go from here?
Well, John, first of all, this is another example of the president. He should have put together a policy team and talked about what could be worked out before they moved the embassy. I'm not opposed to the embassy being in Jerusalem. Make that clear. But it seems like every time that the president reacts, and without planning, a detailed, step-by-step program to move the embassy. And you have to factor in the people who live in Palestine. But again, this is another example of not doing it. And so what do we have? We have this chaos in that part of the Middle East, and I just think, again, it was poorly planned. I'm for moving the embassy, but I would rather have a commission to take 6 months and look at some of the problems that the Palestine people are faced with, to see if there might have been some small changes in their behalf before you moved, or offer some changes before you moved the embassy. But this, again, is another example, in my opinion, of the president not slowing the process down to a point. I'm not talking about a year. I'm not talking about 2 years or 3 years. But maybe before they decided to make the move, they had an advisory panel to meet with the president and his top people to talk about some of the problems that a few, maybe a very few, could have been resolved. I don't know, but this, again, I'm not surprised about the animosity and all the problems we got now, Israel as well as the Palestinian people. I just think it didn't have to happen this way.
Well, Nikki Haley, our UN ambassador, made a statement yesterday. Number one, several people in the Security Council, the Brits included, wanted an investigation as to see what exactly went down here. The U.S. blocked it. Nikki Haley blocked it. Also, Nikki Haley putting the blame squarely on Hamas, and she chastised those countries criticizing it and said, if you were in the same spot, you would have done the exact same thing. We assume, of course, that she's speaking for the administration. Her statement was pretty sharp. You think it was a little over the top, or do you think she set the right tone, putting the blame for this squarely on Hamas?
Well, I think she's a great messenger for the administration. I've already given you my thought process on why we're in this situation. She carries the water for the administration, and she does a good job, no question about it. But again, if what we're going to do is like, trying to police the world again. I know this is a religious issue to a lot of people, and I respect that. But here we go again, and another part of the world sticking our nose in everybody's business, and sometimes we get our nose cut off.
The president yesterday chiding Congress for not acting on his wall, also very upset with the DACA situation. So you've got, you asked Tom Garrett about this a few moments ago, you got 25 Republicans that want to team up with all the Democrats in order to force a clean DACA bill on the House floor without any legislation tied to it that basically says, we want to give amnesty to 3 million people, then you add the chain migration, basically amnesty for 10 million. Of course, we tried that with Reagan in the 80s without legislation attached to it, and now we're in the same place now. But 25 Republicans, they need 25. They've got 18 now. They only need another 7. How does this make any sense for Republicans, for anybody, especially because, even if it got through the House, it's not going to get through the Senate. And even if it did that, the president would veto it. So what's the point?
Well, I agree with you on that. To me, I've always said we need regular order. And if the chairman of the committee, I think there are 2 or 3 bills that deal with this issue, and what they're proposing is to have a vote on all 3 bills when it gets to the floor, and the bill that gets the most votes would then become the bill to be debated. Of course, there's a debate on all 3. I don't really understand that process. I've only seen it happen a couple of times since I've been here. But, again, this is not the way it should be handled. It should go to committee. If the chairman, as Bob Goodlatte, I think, is one of the chairmen, let the people put pressure on him. I see no reason not to have a proper hearing in the committee. Then they decide whether they want to move the bill or not. But no, I don't like this floor action. I really don't. And I would say that truthfully if I was interested in one of these bills. But it's just not the way to handle it.
I agree with that. I think the whole thing is ridiculous. And, again, this is why people are so frustrated, Congressman. You do a lot of jumping up and down in there. I can see the Capitol here from my window at the studio. I mean, any of these bills that don't include the legislative package of long-term immigration reform that the president has laid out, he's going to veto them. So it really becomes a matter of let's just play around, get nothing done, and do this all for show, for politics, because you're not going to solve it. The president is not going to sign any bill without long-term legislative reform.
Well, again, John, to your point, this goes back to Congress, and you just said it, not doing its job. And that's why I'm anti-Paul Ryan. I'm having a classified briefing today at 11 o'clock. The police are going to come here and check my office. I got 2 or 3 other members of Congress coming. I want to get a briefing on Mattis's last visit to Afghanistan. So I got 3 or 4 of his top people coming in this little office around 11 o'clock for a classified briefing on what Mattis found out, what is his opinion of where we are, and what is the future. Because of my frustration on Afghanistan, yours as well. But I go back to the point, we've had bills after bills put in, and the committees will not bring them up. That's a fault of Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan can tell any chairman right now today, bring that bill up in the committee, hold a hearing, hold a vote, and let's get it to the floor. And I blame him for the fact we're doing nothing.
Well, first of all, it's great that you're having General Mattis's team in there in a classified briefing to tell you what the hell is going on in Afghanistan and be forthright, because nobody can figure it out. And we just sent another, 6,000 troops there. Nobody knows what that mission is. There's no objectives. There's no debate. And that's something we've talked about for some time. So if the Republicans maintain control of the House in 2018 midterms, Congressman, and I think that's a month ago I'd have given it less than 0 chance. Now I think it's about a 40% chance you guys could hang on to power. Maybe 50% with the economy the way it is. If you do that, do you have a choice for Speaker?
Well, I don't know if he could win or not, but I would support Jim Jordan. I think Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows have done a yeoman's job of trying to get this House to be more conservative, and that means not only talking about the illegal immigration, but talking about holding the debt down and things like that. So to me, whether we could get Jordan in there if we hold the House, I don't know, but that's the kind of leadership we need for a couple of years.
Congressman, just fresh off a big primary victory where he vanquished another 2 establishment candidates, even though getting outspent 5 or 6 to 1, making mincemeat out of them like he always does. Kind of child's play, like a cat with a mouse. Congressman, let's get to North Korea now that you've vanquished all your establishment challenges. Let's get to.
I have a great campaign team.
I love saying that. Just vanquish them because it's so. Every time I say it, I make myself laugh. So now that they're vanquished, let's get to North Korea. What do you make of Kim Jong-un? Now he's saying, hey, you guys are doing these naval operations, joint ventures. I'm not meeting with the South Koreans. Maybe we shouldn't have this summit. Saber rattling, part of negotiation. What do you think?
Very unstable leadership in North Korea. We all know that. That's not anything new. And I just don't think you can, until it happens, you can plan for it to happen. But I'm not sure that you can count on anything until you're sitting there looking at the face-to-face with the leader of North Korea. So to me, I'm not surprised. I've always felt that it is North Korea is one of the most serious unknowns in the world today. We have very little intelligence on the country, and we are very dependent on South Korea and China to let us know what's going on, more or less, not totally, but more or less. So to me, I'm just not surprised.
So you wouldn't be surprised if there was no summit at all? That wouldn't shock you?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't know that much about the leadership. I'm not just talking about one. I'm talking about the top three, maybe.
Right.
And how they read and discuss world events. They know that America, this has nothing to do with Donald Trump, but that Libya is a prime example. That was President Obama in office at the time that Gaddafi thought he had an understanding with America, then they take him out. So you're dealing with John, an unknown, and it's hard to read an unknown.
Well, I think you're spot on with that. We'll see how it plays out. Congressman Walter Jones, always great to have you on with us. And for more information, jones.house.gov, it's all right there. And again, Congressman, congratulations on your big primary victory.
Well, John, I give glory to God. Thank you so much.